Drinking wine with friends is always great, but when it comes to entertaining and serving a lot of different wines, you can have a lot of fun with glassware and coursing out your wines according to your menu. So I'm going to show a couple of tips to you about how to do that. The first wine you'll be starting with most likely is going to be something sparkling or something really light and crisp. We call that an aperitif. And to begin with, we'll have a little Prosecco. You want to start with something that's lower alcohol and not too heavy, and again, something with a good amount of acidity to it. You want acidity in that first wine because you want something that's really going to make your mouth water and stimulate your appetite and prepare you for the meal to come. So now that your guests are enjoying their appetizers or their canapes along with their aperitif, which most likely is not at the dinner table, it's probably out in the rest of your home as they're waiting to come sit down, this is the time to prepare the rest of your wines for dinner. At my house, what I like to do is pull my white wines out of the refrigerator and put my red wines in. And the reason for this is that if you have your wine served too cold, it actually starts to really suppress the flavors. It becomes difficult to really catch the subtle nuances. It's certainly refreshing, but not as flavorful. So by letting your white wines warm up just a little bit, it'll really showcase them the best. On the other hand, with red wines, we don't really want to serve them quite at room temperature. You want them to have a little bit of a chill. And what that's doing is actually suppressing any of the fumy alcohol that you might be getting off of a wine. Not all wines have that, but if they're too warm, what you'll end up getting is that a little bit of that burn when you first put your nose in the glass. And by having a little bit of a chill, it suppresses that, and again, it showcases the fruit in the best possible quality. So to begin with, once we've seated for our dinner, we'll have a white wine. I'm doing Sauvignon Blanc with my first course here. And Sauvignon Blanc is a great way to start, nice, bright, fresh, crisp flavors. But you could be serving just about anything. It could be a lighter red, or it could be something like Chardonnay, whatever's going to go best with your first courses. And typically you would start with a white wine because if you're doing a progressive meal with multiple courses, you're also going to be wanting to start with lighter, fresher, crisper dishes. So make sure that your progression of wines and your progressions of food are similar in this vein. Start with very light, fresh things and move progressively into heavier and heavier dishes and heavier wines. As we progress through the meal, I'm now moving into red wines. And to begin with, I'm going to do a Pinot Noir. So lighter red wines first. If you have a light red wine after a heavy red wine, it'll end up tasting a little bit too light and not really have a lot of character. But if you start with that light red after your white wines, you'll see all that beautiful, bright, fresh fruit that comes through with that wine. Next up, we'll move on to our bigger red wines. In this case, I'm serving the Lux Meritage. So something bigger and darker. This is most likely going with red meat, something very big and bold and intense, kind of the conclusion of the meal, if you will. And these are all going in pretty big glasses, but you don't want to serve them too full because you want to have enough room to really swirl them so you can smell the wines as you're tasting them. Now, in some cases in a big meal, you might want to be concluding with cheese before your dessert, or in other cases you might want to have the cheese as an appetizer. But if you're having cheese before your dessert, keep all of these wines because there's lots of different wines that can work with cheese. It's not just any one wine that works with it. But you also might want to consider serving your dessert wine now, or save it for dessert. With dessert wines, there's a whole range of dessert wines you can work with based on what you're serving, but you'll typically want to be serving that in a smaller glass like this because a little goes a long way. In this case, we're having the Nightjar, which is our port-style wine, which is really rich and chocolatey and dense flavored, and this is the perfect thing to be finishing up with a chocolate dessert. Now that's a party. I hope that you have fun and entertaining for the holidays this year, and I look forward to sharing a glass with you at a Cooper's Hawk sometime soon.